just like what happened in PDP, the Wiki-led faction, the Turaki faction. The same thing is happening to Action Alliance. So you see that the law is not clear enough. Welcome to Daybreak Live this morning. Good morning, Anu.
Good morning to you this morning.
Right.
The bone of contention, if I may, this morning, it's something quite interesting to look out. Just yesterday or the day before, INEC released the listing for the candidates according to what they have on their portal, and so different reactions, people having conversations about what name is listed, what name is not listed, and parties also making a claim. But this time around, it's about the Action Alliance AA asking INEC to review its 2027 candidate list. And just briefly into that, the Action Alliance has called on the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to review the published list of candidates for the 2027 general elections, saying its candidates were omitted despite court judgment, which it said recognized the leadership of its national chairman, Chief Barrister Kenneth Udeze. And just in the statement that was released by the national chairman, Barrister Kenneth Udeze, the party urged the Electoral Commission to publish a revised list reflecting candidates nominated by the Udeze-led National Executive Committee. And yes, of course, that's the claim the AA is making. But I think one of the things that really struck me was that, according to the party, they gave out that the Court of Appeal judgment had affirmed the legitimacy of the Udeze-led leadership, and it expressed concern that candidates it said were validly nominated under the leadership were not included in INEC's published list. So what they gave, they maintained that its candidates emerged from party primaries conducted in line with the timelines and provisions of the law, according to them. And then they requested that INEC should review that particular publication. So they also went on to give 48 hours ultimatum to INEC to say, review this, or we'll probably make it a legal situation. But, you know, I'm looking at it from different perspectives. The claims they are putting on the table of discourse, is it valid enough for INEC to review? If INEC is going to review, is it just going to review for the AA or some other parties who might have concerns as well? And maybe just to prove that INEC is supposed to be as firm, not to say they cannot go back on or rescind on their decision, but just to say that they can be firm and show firmness to say, we've given a deadline. If you miss out on the deadline, that's the end of the situation. But that's the way I look at it. What do you make of it, Yemi?
Right, I think there's a lot going on. Talking about our party system as a country, Nigeria, I think a lot is going on. And even when we were practicing two-party system, we're not dealing with issues like this. Maybe because we have multiple, parties, and maybe that's why we're experiencing this. Because for a party like Action Alliance, and it's not even very popular or very big like the other parties, and they are suffering or they are experiencing factional issues. There's the faction of Kenneth Udeze, just like you mentioned, there's the faction of Adekunle Rufai Omoaje, and both are relying on the court ruling to say the court is asking us to continue. I'm the right person, I'm the leader of the party, I'm the chairman of the party, and things like that. So I want to ask a question. Does it mean that the law is no longer above all, or is the law not clear enough? Because, if these two people, or let me say these two factions, are claiming we are the right faction, and so the other faction is not the right faction, so how clear is the law? How clear is the court judgment, that these people are relying on? And that's another problem. And that's why I ask questions. This is not the first time that INEC and political parties are having issues like this. I remember that there was a time that even NDC, PDP accused INEC of being biased to say, okay, this party or these people don't want us to contest, they don't want our candidate to contest for elections, and that's why they're doing all of this. So another thing is that this is also not the first time that citizens, Nigerians, will accuse INEC of releasing certain important information about candidates, to certain people. You remember the Emeka Ike saga and how Wike's head posted something about him online, especially something that has to do with his, his ambition, in the country. So my question now is, can we ensure that the law is clear enough? Because we have also seen cases whereby some governors will not follow court order in this same Nigeria. We are seeing cases whereby some ministers did not follow court order in this same Nigeria. We have seen cases whereby political parties will also accuse, or let me say, we also accuse INEC of not following court order. So is it that the law is not clear enough? Because the law should be clear enough even for a very young person to understand that this is what the court is saying. This is the ruling. So both are banking on separate court rulings to say we are the right faction. Just like what happened in PDP, the Wiki-led faction, the Turaki faction. The same thing is happening to Action Alliance. So it's like there's a problem within our political parties. There should be a total overhaul. It's like they need to work on their ideologies. So So if the same thing that is happening to the bigger parties is happening to the smaller parties, I think there's a fundamental problem that should be tackled. Because, I mean, before even blaming INEC, how come you're always having factions? In a small party like Action Alliance, how come you're always having factions? So I think it's a representation of what we have in the bigger parties. That's what we are experiencing in the smaller parties. So the political parties should find a way to resolve their issues. How come every issue will always get to court, and you waste millions of naira, you waste your time when the other parties are planning they are mobilizing people for the election. I don't know. I've not really heard so much about APC, having issues with INEC. So how come it's all these opposition parties that are always having issues with INEC? So at the end of the day, I think we should do more. The law should be clear enough. Let's know who is trying to maybe do control. Let's know who is not trying to follow the court order, or let me say the court ruling now. But let's not mix it up, because now that the faction of Udeze is saying, INEC, we are giving you 48 hours. The other faction, their presidential candidate was uploaded recently. So what do you make of that? So this will affect them in the next election, whether you like it or not. So we should begin to look for how the law can be clear enough for everyone to understand, really.
I think you've made a very valid proposition, and I think it's very important that they look into that. We've talked about not having so much interference of the courts processes into the administration or the internal workings of parties. We've talked about that. I mean, we can't even overflog it now. We've had those kind of conversations. But just to add to what you said is that I think there is law. Well, a lot of times you say, is there a problem of not having promulgations, laws, and order in the country? That's not the case. The case is people have a way of finding a loophole in the law, and then they look for these loopholes, and that's where they tap into, and then make a mess of the whole situation. But yes, this is a continuous situation in the country. We've seen this time and again, but we're hoping there will be a stop to this in the days to come. But just lastly, before I leave this matter, one thing is very sure: if opposition parties cannot play their game very well, I'm afraid they are doomed to fail come 2027 elections, and even much more than 2027, because if you are fighting a party that is as strong as the APC, you need every hands on deck, you need every organization. And there's a saying according to the scriptures that a house that is divided against itself cannot stand. So if the parties are having internal disputes at this level, I'm afraid the party itself does not have a lot of persons who are going to vote for it eventually, because you have divided your vote. Some are saying we belong to this faction, others saying, I mean, it should be a party thing, a consensus agreement, a general consensus agreement between party members across the divides to say this is who we are having as our national chairman or our candidate, and that should be it for them. I think that settles the issue for them. Right.
We also need to talk about the motive of this smaller parties. Why exactly are you establishing a new political party? Is it to cause issues later, before the election or after the election? You really have the intention? Because I mean, 10, 20 years ago, we were not experiencing issues like this. Yes, there were issues, internal problems, but we are not experiencing faction. Look at all the opposition parties. NDC, we have factions. PDP, we have factions. Labour Party, do you know that 10 years ago, Labour Party was not this popular, but then after the last election, they became very popular. They also have factions. They also named the party except for APC now. So it's a problem. We need to talk about the motives of this party too. And then we'll also talk about INEC too. And it's a fine place to leave that discussion this morning. We take a short break, and when we come back, we move on to the big story. We'll be right back.